This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with vocalist Michele Guaitoli of the pirate-themed power metal act Visions of Atlantis. If I knew absolutely nothing about Visions of Atlantis, how would you describe the band's music to me?
So we are storytellers with pirate clothes that wants you to join us in a fantastic journey across the seven seas. Of course, this is a big metaphor with quite some meanings behind our songs. But, you know, in the world of today, everyone needs storytelling. We want to escape from reality. We want to, you know, like we do this when we watch movies. We do this when we play video games. If we play video games, we do this when we read books. Basically, we want to merge all these three arts. Visions of Atlantis as a mission, which is merging literature with our lyrics and our novels, because every song is a novel. We want to bring you into a cinematic universe where eyes find pleasure too, because this is what we want to do with our visuals, photos, and of course with all the presentation that we give on stage. And of course, we are a metal band, a symphonic metal band, so we have our music as main art that we are using, but it's a bit more of a fully artistic, on several levels journey that we want to take you in. And we chose pirates just because, of course, we love pirates, and in the very end of the day, you have to make it. If you want to make something like this, you have to make a choice. Marvel chose superheroes. We chose pirates because this is, the meaning behind the band. I think this is the best introduction I can give to make you understand what we do and how we do it and why, there are pirate clothes on our skin instead of, just being regular musicians.
I think that pretty much sums it up. Visions of Atlantis have a new album coming out on July 5th. It's called Pirates 2 Armada through Napalm Records. Your last studio album, Pirates, came out in 2022. It was your highest charting album in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the US, UK, Canada. Was there any pressure going into creating Pirates 2?
Well, yes, of course. When you release you mentioned everything that we achieved, and it's about our growth in the end. Even if it was not charting, but still it would have been our best record. What matters the most is there is a growth. Like every journey. It's not only about music. Every journey that everyone takes in a specific field needs to be going up in a way. You need to have better results step after step. And this is, the proof that you're doing your job in a proper way. Just think of sports. Just think of everything. Like you want to get better, even in your personal life. You want to improve at what you're doing. So the moment in which you achieve some important results, of course, there is some weight on your shoulders, I would say, and we definitely had it. But on the other side of the medal, everything it's so spontaneous for us. Like we write spontaneously. We don't want to put pressure on ourselves. We believe that as long as it's what we do is sincere and is trustworthy, results will come on their own. And the responsibility, we felt it, but I'm sure that we won't disappoint.
Was there always meant to be a part 2 to Pirates, or was it something that was spawned off of the success of the first album?
No, not really on the success of the first record, but we intensely discussed about the title of the upcoming records. And what we thought is, as I was saying before, we are storytellers, and it's nice to think of what we are doing as books, with novels. Each song is a novel. So Pirates was a collection of 12 novels. Every song has its own meaning, its own story, its own metaphor, but it's a novel in the end. And when we find ourselves out with, the new record up, we were like, well, this is pretty much the same concept that we are offering. It's 12 more novels in the pirate universe. It's different novels, different sounds, different songs. You will not find Master the Hurricane Part 2 or Legion of the Seas Part 2 for sure. And I think that with this first singles that we released, we already make people notice that there is big difference, still being coherent and consistent with what you're doing. But it's 12 new novels, and it was fair enough to call it Pirates 2, as if you have I don't know, these books that collects novel, and then you have a follow-up with more stories. And as long as the stories don't imitate each other, they don't copycat, what you've done before, I see no issue in calling it Pirates 2. And maybe we will have a Pirates 3 coming up, in the future. Let's see where it goes. If we will find ourselves with a concept album that starts and ends, there will be no reason to call it Pirates 3, because the concept would be broken. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. So when it comes to composing the current album, Pirates 2 Armada, how is the songwriting dynamics within the band? Are the two vocalists, yourself and Clementine, the main lyric writers, and everybody else does the music? Or is it a combination of things?
No, Clemmy writes all the lyrics. She is the mastermind behind the entire universe that we create. She basically is the storyteller that we are mentioning. We are the arms of her mind when it comes to the music, but when it comes to the meaning, the concept, the messages, it's basically 100% Clemmy, and she absolutely needs to be credited for this. When it comes to the music, there is another situation in which basically I am the songwriter, the melody writer, and 90% of what you can hear in Pirates 2, as well as 60% of Pirates, came out of my creativity, out of my brain. But there is always room, for we are not like a dictatorial band in which, okay, I write and it stays like this. For instance, the first song, the first track of the record, which is The Land of the Free, actually there is an intro, which is like For Those Who Chose to Fight, and then there is the very first song of the record. When I wrote the melody and the music, I always give it to Clemmy. For all the songs, I always give it to Clemmy, and I tell her, okay, try to sing on this and let me know how it suits your voice, how it fits, how it feels like to sing this song, because it's important that, I consider Clemmy the main vocalist of Visions of Atlantis. It's my music, but still she is the lead singer in my opinion, and I'm the male counterpart, but still I feel like I'm a bit secondary. It's like 70-30 or 60-40 if you want, but still Clemmy is under the spotlight. She's, it's her universe, and she is the main voice of this band. And I have no issues, in saying this or accepting this. So it's extremely important that the music suit and dresses her voice perfectly. And for instance, The Land of the Free, my original version, she felt a bit uncomfortable. She was like, why don't we try and go this way? And at the very end of the day, we kept her line, her melody on the music that I wrote. So there is absolutely no dictatorship in what I'm doing. And whenever something doesn't work, solos or riffing or whatever, I'm happy of having the others jumping in.
Let's talk about a couple of the singles you have out ahead of the album's release. You have Armada out there, sort of like a call to arms song, right?
Absolutely. It's literally a call to arms. And there is this, served on a silver plate, you have this chant for all the fans live, of course, and for all the people listening to the song to scream out loud, no matter if they are in the office, in a room or in the bedroom at night. It truly wants to be a song to be sang along together with, the listeners. And this is why we have these two parts, the Hail Jolly Roger in the verses and the big Armada and the grave, screams in the brave grave in the chorus. It's an invitation to truly join the Armada. This is what we want to do. We are storytellers. We want listeners to come on board and come to the shows dressed up, because we want you to forget reality and be a pirate for an hour and a half of your life, or an hour if you listen to the record. Forget the tasks, forget, the duties of the day, just enjoy this world and sing with us. And basically this is what we're doing. The album is called Armada because we want to expand the pirate Armada, of course, with people not only listening but taking part of it, singing these lines. So yeah, it's definitely a call to arms.
You mentioned earlier visuals are just as important as the music. I watched your music video for Armada. This is a very pirate-centric cinematic thing. How did that all come together?
Again, also for the videos, it's Clemmy's mind that creates all of the craft, all of this. She's not a director, because of course we rely on external directors and video makers. That's obvious. But the concept and the story, the script for the videos, it's also coming from Clemmy. And this is just because, you know, it's so obvious. She writes the lyrics, and while she writes the stories, she already pictures what's going on in the storytelling. You know, it would be amazing for us to have the budgets to realize 12 videos, because every story would come up with, you know, every song, I call them stories, you know, even every song would come out with its own visual universe, and its all video that could be possible. Of course, it's impossible for obvious reasons, you know.
Another single you have out is Monsters. Not so much monsters, creatures that you're fighting, but more of the fear inside of us, right?
Yeah, the monsters are the monsters inside of us, you know, the skeletons that we keep in the closets, you know. And there is this important scenes with the mirror, you know, because the idea behind it is, you know, you wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, to the bedroom, wherever it is, and you look at yourself in the mirror, and that's the only moment in our perspective in which you truly tell yourself who you are, you know, because then you put a suit to go to the office, or, you know, you wear your uniform to go to your work or whatever. And from that moment on, you have to behave in a way that is accepted by others. You know, you have to behave. You have to be someone that is not 100% you, but that person that you see in the mirror in the morning, this is you. This is yourself. And that person, of course, needs to hide something from others. Sometimes you need to hide your creativity or, you know, good things, but there are several monsters inside each and every single one of us that we keep on hiding for, you know, just to adapt to society, because sometimes they are not good for real, or sometimes we just cannot allow ourselves to let them out. But the truth is that being friend of these monsters, accepting yourself in the good and the bad, it's the only way to truly live freely. And yeah, again, this is a big meaning behind Pirate Clothes, you know, behind the storytelling with the pirates.
Visions of Atlantis is going to be hitting the festival circuit this summer. You've already hit a couple of them. You hit Metal Fest on June 2nd, and you hit Bike Fest on June 14th. How did those festivals go for you?
So they are absolutely going amazing. We see it year after year, and this is also happening in the upcoming tour. You know, numbers are growing. People are coming up dressed up. We see fans that are truly embracing this pirate thing that we are putting on, you know, and it's so wonderful to see it growing with us. You know, it's so amazing, so fulfilling in a way, because it means that people grasp, you know, what we're doing as a metal band with such an ambition of entering people's mind, to enter so deeply, you know, inside of people's mind. You don't really expect this to happen all the times, you know, but when you see this happening, when you see people smiling, people understanding what you're singing about and embracing the concept, this is just fantastic. What I want to say, and I hope this passes through, is that I can't wait for us to enter the circuit of American festivals. We never played a festival in the US. It never happened. You know, I know that you have Milwaukee Metal Fest. I mean, that's not true. We played Prog Power Festival. So yeah, I was absolutely imprecise, but still there is so many, you know, there is so much more that we would love to come and play at. So hopefully this message passes through, because it's, you know, Europe is amazing, but the world is way bigger.
Well, you pretty much conquered the U.S. over the last year or so. You just finished up your tour in the U.S. How was that experience?
We found, let's use a pirate metaphor, we found El Dorado in the United States. Because honestly, when we started to tour overseas, thanks to Dragon Force, we owe them a lot. In 2022, actually it was 2020, but you know what happened, but we had the chance to come back in 2022. People over there loved what we were doing. I'm under the impression that in the United States, even more, you are somehow, I don't know if it's because you are more used to musicals and to this kind of, expression of art, but for sure, you truly loved what we were doing with a passionate way, with your skin, I would say. And on the second tour, we already came back as headliner. Of course, it was smaller venues compared to one from of Dragon Force, but we could handle a headline tour just 1 year after our first appearance in the US. And then we came back again with Elaine and with Corpiclani, and we could tell that on those tours, some people were there for us, you know, like they were coming again dressed up as pirates, and it was so uplifting. So, you know, it gave us the feeling that we truly are building something, and this is not to be taken for granted. You know, it's not like you play music, you're successful or you're doing it well on one side of the universe. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen on the other side too, you know. So we definitely will come back, and I believe that it's time to come back as headlining act again with you know, bringing the Armada tour overseas. We will work on it soon.
After you're finished up with the festival circuit, Visions of Atlantis is hitting a European headlining tour starting in September and running through October. The official start of the tour is July 6th. That is your album release show. Are you going to be doing anything special for that particular show?
Yeah, we are trying to build up, you know, like we are testing it already, but what we are trying to do is to build up a proper stage with a real production, you know, like until now, we only used props, you know, like we had stage props, we had barrels, we had the mugs, we had flags, we had fishnets, you know, we had something that somehow evoked the nautical theme that is necessary with our universe, you know. But now we truly want to bring people on board, and we have a ship, you know, that has been built that we are taking on stage, and we will adorn it with more and more props, so that the moment in which you will look at the stage, it will truly look like a ship deck with all the necessary props, the tiki torch, you know, and torches and everything. We are building a bigger light show to truly embrace visually not only the videos but also the stage production, because this is again necessary. If you want to make it cinematic for real, it has to become cinematic. And now that the band is growing and the venues are getting bigger, we finally can try at least to do this and to make it happen. So yeah, there will be massive improvements compared to what we did in the past.
Are you planning on recording any of the shows for future audio or video release?
We did it for The Deep in the Dark. We did it for Wonders. We did it for Pirates over Wacken. On one side, I would love to. On the other side, I feel like we are repeating ourselves a bit too much. So I'm a bit torn. And, you know, it's not only me, we are 5, we decide everything together as a team. And we are all, you know, a bit concerned about repeating the pattern all over again. So maybe we will just record a couple songs instead of releasing a live album, and, you know, do something different this time and offer maybe, you know, let's say 5 acoustic songs and 5 live songs, just, you know, to bring a bit more variety in what we're doing. But it's, you know, we're talking about things that are not decided. Maybe we'll release a big DVD because we will have a wonderful show and we'll want to release it. But right now it would feel a bit redundant, if you know what I mean.
Visions of Atlantis has had their share of band members over the years since its inception in 2009, 2010. You came on board in 2018. How were you recruited into the group?
So Siegfried, the previous singer, he couldn't stay in the band because of the availability of the demand of Visions of Atlantis in terms of live show. And he quickly realized that with the band growth, playing 40, 50 shows and having a day job as his is, would have been absolutely impossible. You know, there are jobs that you can handle in smart working, so you can do it on the road, and some stuff in which you actually absolutely need to be there, you know, in the office, because you have to be there for several reasons, you know. And in his case, he couldn't afford it, and he had to make a choice, and he chose to stay in the office, basically. And I was up to tour with Visions of Atlantis with my other project, with Temperance, that were supposed to be the opening act for Dragony, Siegfried's band, Visions of Atlantis, and Serenity. So it was like, well, I like how this dude is singing. Let's ask him if he feels like. And I had to record a couple demos that I sent in a few days after they asked me. They loved it, and I jumped in. And I believe this this was a turning point. Not, I don't want to get credit in this way, but you know, when an engine works, but some wheels are missing, and apparently I was the missing wheel that inserted in the engine made everything work, because now it's 6 years, it's going to be the 7th, that there is only growth, there is only a big friendship that is growing. Like we truly are a family. It's unbelievable. I feel the same vibes that I was feeling, you know, when I was 18, entering the rehearsal room, playing with my bandmates back then that are basically brothers. And now I'm reliving this, you know, like we go on holiday together. We meet for, you know, dinners. We call, we have this big WhatsApp group, but Herbert got married and we were there. You know, like we are a band. We are a real band now.
You mentioned your other band, Temperance. I interviewed Marco Pastorino about 6 months ago about your latest album, Hermitage, Durama's Eyes Part 2. Does Temperance have an opportunity to tour, or are you too busy with Visions of Atlantis?
So in Europe, we toured together. We toured in February. And we toured in the UK. We had a short run in UK, opening for like a special guest actually for Sirenia. And we only have 2 festivals scheduled this summer, and yeah, I will be at both festivals. So right now, except for a few shows in which indeed I couldn't be there because of my duties with Visions of Atlantis, and there is another guy called Gabriele that I am so thankful to, and he jumps in basically when I'm not there, and he's pretty happy of doing it. I have to say. So there is a good vibe, and we are friends, so it's not like there is competition amongst them. He has his own project and everything, but for now it always worked out pretty well. I have a big affection for Temperance, you know, like Marco and I, we've been growing up together. He's one of these people that in a way has played an extremely important role in my life. And even in Temperance, there has been some changes in terms of lineup. Yeah, the love that I have for Marco is special, and I never feel, it's not even in the farthest part of my mind to leave the band for any reason, you know. So as long as I can, and as long as for Temperance it works, we will be together. And if there is, you know, crossover shows, we find a solution because we all accept what's going on.
Are you still working with KALEDON?
No, that was one of the bands that at a certain point, you know, I realized it would have not been fair from my end to keep on pretending I could stay there. You know, I play almost 115 shows per year. You know, it means that with the traveling and everything, it's basically 1 day at home and 3 days on the road. 1 day at home and 3 days on the road. Of course, with touring, it's not exactly this balance, but even now I'm here, and in a couple of days we will be on the road with Visions of Atlantis, and it's going to be back for 3 days and on the road again for 4 or 5 days. So it would have been unfair towards KALEDON to say, okay, I stay there, when it's already hard enough to stick to the duties of Temperance. You know, 2 bands are already crazy. I'm not the only musician who has it. I can mention, you know, Neil Smalling, he has Amaranthi and Dynasty. There are so many musicians with 2 projects, but 3, it's just unfair.
Are you still doing production work? I'm actually interviewing someone you worked with last year. I'm interviewing Issa later today. Yeah.
So this is also something that more and more I'm dropping. You know, there are some records that I mix and produce, but the truth is that especially in the last years, managing Visions of Atlantis and co-managing Temperance, you know, like it's definitely becoming a full-time job on every level. You know, when you start a band, it's fun. You go out on the weekends, you know, you spend your salary to buy new gear, you keep on going, and it's fantastic. You know, it's a big adventure. Then you start to do things seriously, and you realize that I was teaching, for instance, I was teaching singing. I cannot do this anymore because I'm away for so long that I would, you know, do a bad thing to my student to pretend I could. And, you know, it needs continuity. And if I'm out 3 months a year or 4 months a year constantly for touring, and then I'm out on the weekends, it would be absolutely wrong in terms of, you know, the didactical purpose. And production goes with it. You know, like right now I have so little time, even for my own self, to relax, because of everything that there is behind, communication with the crew, budget management, management with the booking, like collaborations with the booking agencies and with the label. There is so much work behind a band that is growing. And I have 2 projects, and I'm helping on both projects that, honestly, the time is like, if I have some free hours, I take them for myself to breathe.
Sounds like a great plan. Well, Meek, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new Visions of Atlantis album, Pirates 2 Armada, comes out July 5th through Napalm Records. And I want to thank you for speaking with KNAC.com and telling us more about it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Again, I have a special connection to the United States. So when I have the chance to talk with someone overseas, it's such a pleasure. And of course, thank you very much to KNAC.com, because it's, it's, you allowed us to say something more about the record, to express some concepts that otherwise would have stayed hidden, behind the song. So I'm extremely grateful for this.